Good morning, folks. This is Deb Della Piana. This is Sunday, it's stream day, and I got a lot of stuff to do before we get to that point in the day. But I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about the Brittney Griner release and all the bullshit surrounding it. So first, let's establish the clear fact that what the right is mostly upset about is the fact that Brittney Griner is Black, a woman, a lesbian woman, in a same-sex marriage, and a woman who has, in the past, criticized the playing of the national anthem. That, by the way, is freedom of speech, just so everyone understands it. We have, Marjorie Taylor Greene out there talking about how the Jews control the weather with space lasers. And we have Yeezy out there talking about how he's going to go DEFCON 4 on the Jews. And we have people arguing that that is freedom of speech when it is clearly anti-Semitism. Yet when Brittney Griner can, criticizes the playing of the national anthem, that's someone who, quote, in Donald Trump's quote, openly hates our country. Brittney Griner does not openly hate our country. She is exercising her free speech rights, okay? My children in high school came to me and asked me for permission not to stand during the national anthem, mostly because they had friends who they felt were not being fairly represented and treated well in this country, and I gave them that permission. That's their permission. Forcing people to stand for the national anthem, to utter the national anthem, to put their hands over their heart is not patriotism, it's statism, okay? It's the shit that Germany forced on people, okay? So let's clear the air here, all right? And let's talk about Brittney Griner as an activist. Brittney Griner was never even known as an activist. She was known as a WNBA player. She did make some statements, but she was certainly not an activist in the way that Colin Kaepernick was an activist, who, by the way, had his career destroyed for that, mostly because he was Black and outspoken, didn't know his place in society. So Brittney Griner was released for Victor Bout, who is not a good guy. We know that. He's an arms dealer. When you make these trades, they're really not great guys, okay? But Brittney Griner, maybe, and of course we had Donald Trump Jr. out there on Twitter talking about the fact that the only reason she was released was she was woke. It's all the same right-wing bullshit we hear all day long about anybody who isn't white, right-wing, and male. I'm sorry, even the women of the GOP have openly stated that women are the lesser vessels in this country. So that may be their opinion and they may want to live that way, but others don't think that way. Brittney Griner was arrested for an alleged drug charge for bringing less than a gram of THC into Russia. 9 years. She's a human being. She's not a celebrity who has been in there for 10 months. And by the way, Joe Biden did indeed try to get Paul Whelan released at the same time. And the Russians are treating that as a different case because he was arrested for alleged espionage. Do I believe he was, wrongfully arrested? I absolutely do. But let's talk a little bit about who Paul Whelan is. Paul Whelan is an ex-Marine who was given a bad conduct discharge in 2008 from the Marines for larceny, dereliction of duty, passing bad checks, using another person's social security number. It is not by any stretch of the imagination as bad as a dishonorable discharge, but it does affect his benefits. Okay, he went to a wedding in 2018, was arrested with a thumb drive, which he thought held wedding pictures, but which the Russians said, was basically he was spying, and that's what kind of shit was on the drive. So the argument is that, of course, Donald Trump said Paul Whelan should be brought home. And of course, the GOP said if Donald Trump was in office, he would have brought Paul Whelan home. Well, if that's the case, Paul Whelan was arrested in 2018. Donald Trump never even uttered his name or attempted to free him. And Paul Whelan's own family said that. And Paul Whelan's own family, by the way, is happy that Brittney Griner got out. Joe Biden has also not stopped trying to get Paul Whelan released. Paul Whelan, who actually hasn't lived in the United States for a long time and holds citizenship in 4 countries. In addition to the US, he has citizenship in Canada, Ireland, and the UK. Not against the law, but he's got a lot of people working towards getting him out. The US isn't the only place that's doing that. And I'd like to remind everybody on the right, and Marjorie Taylor Greene especially is out there opening her big fat mouth, the hillbilly Hitler of the GOP, about, how it's disgusting that, Paul Whelan is still in jail. Well, in Russia. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trevor Reed, another Marine, who was who got out of Russia this year in May. Okay, under the Biden administration. All right, but who was in 2021, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Freedom Caucus held up bills, one of which was to get Trevor Reed out, held up bills as a way to stymie the Congress from moving forward. It was a political move, but you put someone's life, out there as a bargaining chip. But no one talks about that. No one talks about that except for Trevor Reed, who is now back in the United States and has blamed the GOP for him not getting out in 2021. Not blaming Joe Biden, blaming the GOP. Because they basically stalled a bunch of bills that are considered non-controversial, that are usually approved quickly because they are bipartisan in nature. But not this time, not because of the Freedom Caucus. Okay, and Marjorie Taylor Greene especially. Look at folks. Donald Trump had a nice, cozy little relationship with Vladimir Putin. He never uttered Paul Whelan's name once, or even made one single attempt to bring him back to the United States. And that's because Donald Trump is buddies with a despot. He's buddies with many despots. We have a sitting president who endorsed a dictator in Brazil for re-election. Okay, who does that? What fucking person who claims to care about democracy does shit like that? Donald Trump didn't raise one finger to help Paul Whelan, not one time in his entire term. We even had some clown on Twitter say that, well, Donald Trump wasn't president in 2018. Well, he sure than shit was, because he lost the election in 2020, contrary to the right wing's popular opinion. The fact of the matter is that the GOP is full of shit on all counts. Now, exchanges like this never release good guys. Never. Okay? And I understand that. And, there are people who disagree with what Joe Biden did. I'm not one of those people. I don't see Brittney Griner as a throwaway simply because she wasn't an ex-Marine or in the military. She's a human being, an American citizen, who deserves to be back here after being left in a brutal penal colony for almost 10 months on her way to a goddamn basketball game. The GOP basically is where they are here, is they are fascists. What they care most about is white, straight men, period. Even the women. Women have always enabled fascism. White women have always enabled fascism in this country in one way or another. Okay? There's a long line of them. The GOP and the right wing simply doesn't view gay people, trans people, anybody who is outside their vision of what a real American is, a human being. And that's really what the crux of all of this is. They would be happy to let Brittney Griner waste away in there for the rest of her life. The GOP is full of shit. The right wing is full of shit. And they can shut the fuck up because they have done absolutely nothing that looks like they love America. You do not try to overthrow the government and reinstall a despot and then call yourselves patriots, because that's an outright lie. I will talk to you all later.